group of technical experts who took the job of review and, of course, validation of the job that has been done by INEC in the proposed ward delineation for Warri Federal Constituency. Remember that on the 4th of April this year, 2025, INEC presented to stakeholders of Warri Federal Constituency a document outlining the ward delineation exercise carried out by INEC. And this document contains coordinates of the different communities forming the unit and, of course, ward of this particular federal constituency. Now, we are going to carry out a brief and exposition of the fraud carried out by INEC and its cohort in the document presented to us 4th April this year, 2025. Now, this exposition is a practical process of showing to the world what INEC actually did. Now, some persons have been saying that, oh, INEC did a wonderful job. INEC went on ground to supervise this process. Hence, INEC has done a beautiful job. But we're going to prove them wrong today by the information that we're going to be revealing today. And of course, the scope of our job includes using the same coordinate provided by INEC in that document presented to stakeholders to check for a fact whether what has been presented to us is actually what it is. It's a practical process of just using your Google Earth map to plot the same coordinate to find out whether or not these names, as you can see, as names of communities, are exactly what it is. So join me as we take a step to look at some of the facts we uncovered during this process. Now, on the screen you can see, number one, we have creating and renaming of Aboriginal and legal communities. INEC, of course, has no power to create communities, but yet we saw that in this particular job that we did, looking at the document presented to us by INEC. Number two, we have duplication of communities. So you can see that when we go into the details, that communities were duplicated into hundreds, as the case may be, to form, wards. We also have creation of fictitious communities to form units that make up wards. Fictitious communities are virtually communities that are not in existence, but yet this was what we uncovered in this fraud done by INEC. We also have importation of communities from outside the 3 Warri local government areas. For example, communities from Burutu, Bomadi, Ugeli South, Udu in Delta states, and also communities from Edo and Ondo state, particularly in the Warri North houses, were imported into the Warri Federal Constituency to make up wards for Ijos living in the Warri Federal Constituency. We also have number 5, illegal boundary adjustment. For example, INEC took over the job of boundary adjustment, which is of course not their job. We have number 6, manufacturing of voting units outside the voters register. One cannot tell where INEC manufactured these new units and what from, since none of such units existed in any voter register. We also have number 7, the use of the same coordinate for multiple units in different wards in different local government areas. So similar to the duplications that we talked about earlier on. Many of the wards, of course, and many of the wards created and renamed for the Jos and Robos were done from landmass and communities of Ishekiri that were renamed. So what they just do is pick up communities, from landmass of Ishekiri and give it a different name and put it under an Ijaw ward and say this is a new ward created for the Jos. Let's also go for that number 9. We have forest and river. We are playing in the coordinate provided by INEC as voting units from to form wards. So when you look at some of the coordinates, some of them fell in the middle of the river, some of them in the thick forest with no habitat and no structure. Another fraud discovered was that INEC assumed population of different wards in the Warri Federal Constituency outside of the figures captured by the last conducted census, as we are yet to conduct a new census that should report a change in the population of the area. If I can recall, the last time we did the census in Nigeria was in 2006. So when the INEC came up with the new figure to ascertain population in different wards, we cannot tell. But this was what we uncovered in this particular review. INEC assumed voting strength outside the voter register as only registered voters who are of voting age from the valid voting population of any geography in Nigeria should in fact determine the voting population of any area. Now we'll move further to number 12. INEC, against our own guidelines, split wards with less than 50 units into two, and up to 4 wards in some cases were formed from just that one particular ward. Whereas there are wards that are containing up to about 50 and above, it remains the same one ward. We also have number 13. Majority of the new wards created by INEC failed to meet the required number of units, voting strength, or voter register record of INEC to make a ward. So even when you say we are enforcing Supreme Court judgment, nobody has asked INEC not to enforce Supreme Court judgment. We have only said that in enforcing Supreme Court judgment, that INEC was supposed to follow its own guidelines, and this is what we are faulting. So in case you are part of the people who felt that, oh, a Chekiris or some person don't want INEC to enforce the Supreme Court judgment, you actually got it wrong. That is not the case. We want them to enforce the Supreme Court judgment on the delineation, but doing so, applying their own guidelines. Majority of the new wards created by INEC failed to meet the required number of units, voting strength, or voter register record of INEC to make a ward. And 14, the last one there, wards created on our lands and community cannot be renamed with a strange name or strange names that are not in existence but should be named with the original or aboriginal names of the community making up the unit of such ward. So if you are going to create a new ward from the existing ones, you cannot give it a different name that is alien to the area where you are creating that word. So these were the summary of what we uncovered. So we're not going to go into the practical proper to show you some of the real coordinates as we found them to be from INEC own record when they presented that document to us. So we're going to start off with communities from, coordinates or word created outside of Delta State. That's to say, there were word or units created and imported from outside of Delta State. These include communities from Ondo State and communities from Edo State. So we're going to go to registration area number 5. So as you can see on the screen, these are some of the communities we found out, were created as unit to form this ward, registration area number 5. And they called it, Awamba ward, as you can see on the screen. Awamba ward contains a lot of communities that are not from Delta State. So we're going to plot some of these coordinates so that you can tell for yourself. If you have the Google Earth with you wherever you are, you can join us as we do so. My technical team, I believe, we are ready to do so. So let's take, for example, number 5 on the list. We have number 5. This, for example, let me even explain the table before we proceed. As you can see on your screen, we have the serial number, we have the legal aboriginal communities and the fictitious communities. Note that the fictitious community column was what INEC gave to us. This fictitious community column was what INEC gave to us. Then when we plot the coordinate, the latitude and the longitude, the aboriginal legal name was what we find out. So we're going to do it again for you. So we go by number 5. And number 5, INEC called it Korokwingbene. And for Korokwingbene, we have latitude 6.14, 6974. That is 6.14. Okay? If we are there, let's see for ourselves. That's the coordinates, as you can see on your screen. And we'll see what comes out of it. Now, even as we can see, this is the middle of a river, and the name there is Odoselemon Creek. Now, Odoselemon Creek, from our discovery, is not even in Delta State. It's in Ondo State, but yet was imported into Delta State to create a community and form the unit that formed the ward, Awamba 5. So let's go to another one. Let's try 6 and 7 as well on the list. We've done for 5, so let's do 6 and of course 7. For 6, they called it Ebibote. That was what INEC called it, Ebibote. Now for Ebibote, we have 6.14, 6974. 6.14, 6974. That's for the latitude, and the longitude we have it at 5.00, 242. Now let's go to the Google Earth map and see what comes out of it. Now, what we're getting is still Odoselemo Creek. Now, Odoselemo Creek is forming another community or unit, number 2, and it's coming from Ondo State. Now, let's go to number 7. Let's plot number 7 under Awamba ward and see what comes out of it. We have, they call it Lemugbene. Number 7 was called Lemugbene, and the latitude is 6.109131. And the longitude is 5.059712. So let's see what comes out of that. Now, you can see for this one, it's closer to the middle of the creek, but of course, a deep forest. There's no structure, no inhabitant. And what's the name there? Please, technical team, let's see the name there. Duwo Preuba. That's the name we have there. Duwo Preuba. So these names, as we can see from this Google Earth map, is entirely different from what INEC gave to us. That's the gravity of the fraud that INEC is committing against the people of Warri Federal Constituency. I mean the original owners of Warri Federal Constituency. And yet, not many understand this, because this is the cook-up of what delineation that INEC is coming to present to the world as a job well done. So we move further away from Awamba ward. Let's go to registration area number 8, where we have Egbema ward there. Now, in this same work, we saw Egbema 1, Egbema 2, Egbema 3, Egbema 4. When you look at the communities surrounding or using creating these Egbemas, you find out that many of them are from Ondo State, others are Ishekiri Aboriginal communities giving a different name to form these units. But let's go to Egbema ward, where they have a registration area 8. So we're going to take, for example, coordinate number 35, and let's see what comes out of it. INEC called it Isonogbene. This was what INEC gave to us. Remember, I told you that the fictitious community column was what INEC gave to us with these coordinates. So what we are doing is just to verify, to check what INEC has done. Let's plot the coordinate for 35, which is of course 6.11, 6.111, 393. That's for the latitude. And the longitude is 5.052, 835. Now let's go to the Google Earth map and find out what it brings for us, or what it reveals, because you can also see clearly. Now in this case, there are some structures by the side, but where the coordinate falls is the middle of the river. Now let's see what names comes out there, pop up there, technical team there. Now what came out is Binigbiagbene. So what these guys are doing is just to, change the name of these various areas, give it an Ijaw name, and make it a unit forming a word for the Ijaws. So we move away from that. Now let's go to say 39. Let's try from 39. C for 39, for example. They call it Daujuogbene for 39, and we take the latitude 6.12. 1089, 6.121089, and for the longitude we have it at 5.037948. So let's see what comes out of 39. Now still the same area in the middle of the creek, and what we have there is Asiboro. So you see clearly that INEC did a very dirty job and yet presented it as if, oh, they've done a beautiful job. So let's take the last one there from Egbema, 44. Let's go for 44 and see what comes out of it. 44, okay, on the list there, they call it Asiboro, Asiboro the 1, and we have 6.13423, 6.13423, and for the longitude is 5.021993. So let's see what comes out of it. You find out that all the names that are popping up, they are entirely different from what INEC gave to us. And what we have there is Korokbengbene. Korokbengbene is in the middle of a river. Nothing is there, no habitat, no structure. So how do you create units in the middle of a river, maybe fishes would be part of those who will be casting their boats, who knows? How do you form that and create a word out of it? So let's move away from that. We are concerned with, coordinates or community formed from outside of Delta State. We're still going to go to the ones formed within Delta State, but from another local government to create word in a particular local government. So we take it step by step, right? So let's go to, for example, areas where they created units or communities from another local government. Now we are dwelling on Warri Southwest in this particular scenario, but yet you can see that communities that were used in creating some of these units for Warri Southwest, they are not even in Warri Southwest. We're going to prove that now. So let's go to registration area number 14. Registration area number 14. So let's see what we'll get from there. I want to reveal to you the fraud that INEC has committed. We're talking about the kind of units that have been created outside of the Warri Federal Constituency. Outside of the Warri Federal Constituency. Technical team, if you're there, let's move to coordinate or community created outside of Warri Federal Constituency. Are we there? I think this should be it. Check this. No, we're not there. Outside of Warri Federal Constituency. Okay, that's outside of Delta State. Please check the next one. Check the next one. And I'll check the next one. We'll come to all of these, but I just want to take it chronologically. Okay, words and coordinate formed from HL3 communities. Okay, why the technical team will work on that, we'll come back to that, but first let's go to communities or coordinate created from HL3 communities. Let's make do with that one. Are we there? No, this one is for forest. We'll come to that. Yes, we're there. Now, you can see from the heading, words and coordinate formed from HL3 communities. Now, for example, we have registration area number 5 in Warri North. We are in Warri North now, as we can see. And this particular word was named with another name. Orokwara, Otowodo. Sorry, this should be in Warri South. Beg your pardon, this should be Warri South. Please scroll up, scroll up. 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 Yes, good. Yes, we started with Warri North. Now, this is Egbema, registration number 8. Now, in this particular Egbema word, we have word created from the Ilaje village at Ago Adoku. As you can see, this was our discovery. And of course, these were the names that INEC gave to us. The names are very funny. They have nothing to do with what we can see here. Now, let's plot 1 or 2 coordinates from this one now and see what comes out of it. Let's say we're going with 16. 16, the latitude is 6.112, 713, and of course, longitude 5.18295. Let's see what comes out of that. You can see Ago Adoku. Ago Adoku is in Ondo State, but yet they brought it into Warri North local government to form a unit. Now we're going to go to another one. Let's go back to the coordinates again. Now, if you are actually following this, you can do the same plotting like we are doing. Download the Google Play Store if you don't have. Of course, from that Google Play Store, download your Google Earth. And from the Google Earth, you can plot this coordinate with us and see what you can find there. Now, let's come down to registration area 1. They call this particular word Abadigbene. Abadigbene in Warri North. Yet, all the communities under Abadigbene, they are all HL3 communities. But they just gave it a different name, rename it, and plot the coordinate like that. But when we check the coordinates, these were the names that pop up. Ebroimi, Old Nana Town, Ebroimi, Old Nana Town, these were the names we saw. So which is quite different from what INEC is. So INEC is actually in the business of committing as more fraud as possible. We've known them to be, that dubious during election, but you wouldn't expect that the same, attitude would come up for a simple word delineation as you would expect. But this was what we got. So let's do some plotting. Let's go for number 3, for example, and the INEC document called it Balogun. Balogun should be maybe from Lagos. We have Balogun in Delta State, but let's plot the coordinates. For the latitude for number 3, Balogun, there we have 5.94, 6479. And the longitude, we have it at 5.181732. So let's go to the Google Earth and see for ourselves what comes out of that. You can see Vietnam, all these are Ebroimi. Vietnam, Ebroimi. Yet, INEC gave it an Ijaw name and registered it under an Ijaw word. So this is how they created the multiple words that made it look as if, they just have got a huge number of words against the Shekiri who owns that local government. This is how they created the fictitious communities making up the word to make it look as if, INEC, did a beautiful job. When we know that that is not actually the case. But we move straight for, you can see even from the zoom out now, this is Ebroimi, this is called Nana Town. This is the area where the coordinate is dropping, and this is what INEC is giving an Ijaw name, Balogun Bene. Now let's go again and see for another coordinates there. And because of time, we can't plot all of them, so at your free time, you can do that and see for yourself what we have there. So we're just going to do maybe 1 or 2 out of each of the words. Let's go to registration area number 4. All these are under Warri North, and they call this particular word Asatu Agbene. Now, when you look at the communities forming this word Asatu Agbene, they are all the Shekiri communities. Because this was what we find that when we plot this coordinate provided by INEC, remember that we're not manufacturing coordinates. We are making use of the coordinate that INEC delivered to us during that presentation of that document, 4th April this year, 2025, as the proposed word delineation document for stakeholders. And it is that coordinate that we are plotting to unravel the actual name or the actual location that they've created this community or unit from. So let's try maybe number 2. Number 2 there, they call it Asatu Agbene 2. So let's say latitude 5.87, 5651. And the longitude is 5.20, 7998. So let's go to the Google Earth map and see what comes out of that. Now you can see Kokotoro Creek. Kokotoro Creek, for example, is even not a residential area. In the middle of a river. And that's what we found out to be the actual name. But look at the surrounding area. Adabrasa, Old Nana Town. These are the areas from which these guys are creating the units of communities that make up the world that they claim to own more than the Shekiris of that particular local government. So we take another one from another word. So because of time, let's go to the coordinates again. Now, let's just take one from Asatu Agbene. You can also plot that at your free time. Scroll down and let's see for more. All of these communities that we are showing you, they are all the Shekiri. You can see the list goes on and on. This Koko, Ologi Creek, Ureju, Inovia Northeast, close, the hinterland of Ureju. Then you see Koko Camp, and these are all the communities that came out when we plot the coordinates for Asatu Agbene ward. All the communities there are Shekiri communities. With the name, we are not manufacturing names. You can all see from the screen what we are showing you. We are plotting the coordinate to show you so that you can tell for yourself what is the actual location of this coordinate. Now let's move further now to another word without wasting much time. We also have registration area. I think have we done this? Registration area 8, Egbema ward. Okay, we have Adabrasa Creek, we have Okoromadu, Agogo River, but let's plot 1 or 2 from this, of course. But these were the names. The fictitious names are the names that INEC gave to them. You can see Perela Bogbene and what have you. So many funny names. But let's plot for maybe number 2. We have latitude 6.05, latitude 6.05, 5525. And let's take longitude 5.15, 0792. So let's go to the Google Earth map. Everyone following this broadcast can do what we are doing and also follow suit. See for yourself. Now, in this particular instance, we are having Fiena inside a creek, of course. Now, majority of these coordinates, interestingly, don't fall on any structure or community. They are virtually in the middle of the creek or the forest where we don't have habitat. So who are the people forming the unit there? Who are the people forming the voter register there that make up that particular unit? You know? So zoom out, let's see. Zoom out and see the surrounding area. Now you can see clearly, this is a very long creek, deep inside, with no particular structure. So let's go back to our coordinate again. Let's see for more. We go away from that Ekbema. Let's move for another one. Scroll down, if you can. Okay. Okay, little pause there. We have restoration area 10. Restoration area 10, they called it Itagbene. All these are words created for the just in Warri North. Itagbene. Under Itagbene, this was the names we found out available when we plot these coordinates. Now let's go for, say, number 3. Let's plot for 5.93, 7192. And the longitude is 5.18, 2996. The same bear town we have seen before, so you can see another duplication. They just model things up, they duplicate the coordinates, plot it in one of the words, plot it in another word again, and they keep on having the same location appearing in different words. Now this bear town, they are all under Old Nana town. These are Ishekiri land and not Ijo land. This is the Old Nana town that we're talking about. This is Adabasa Creek. So clearly from what you can see on your screen, this is a monumental fraud committed by INEC. And like you all know, when you talk of Yahoo, there are different levels to it. There are those who are involved in it for financial, aggrandizement. There are those who want to use it to seize power. Because the essence of this job, as you can see on your screen, is to seize the political power of the Ishekiri from Warri Federal Constituency, nothing more. Secondly, they are also targeting areas with, oil wells that are producing so much of crude oil, such that when they are able to change the name and call it an Ijo name, it becomes theirs, and they claim, oh, that's our community, so that they can from there seek for royalty from these companies, seek for certain claim from these oil companies. These are the two major reasons, to claim the oil wealth and to claim the political power from the original owners of Warri Federal Constituency. So that's that for that particular word. Let's move forward again. You can see clearly many of these names, as you can see, they are all Ishekiri communities. Go up, let's go. A very, very long list, but let's not plot all of them. Let us plot one each. We also have this one for restoration area 16. They call this one what? Obudu ward. Obudu ward, and these were the names they gave to us. These communities were the names of communities they gave to us. And once we plot the coordinates, it was a different thing entirely. You understand? So let's look at these. Let's take one of them. Let's just take one of them. Let's say, for example, we're taking 61, for example, 5.94, 1903. Are we there? Okay, 61, 5.964,551. The longitude is 5.158031. This is in the middle of the river again, and this is Beer Town. So we have seen Beer Town for 3 different words. And it is not just one Beer Town, we are duplicating it under the word, but we don't have time to plot one after the other. So you can see the level of fraud being committed by INEC. So let's move away from the various words created with Ishekiri communities. You can see from that particular table, the list is on ending. So we don't have time to look at all of them. So let's now move to the unit of communities created from outside Warri Southwest local government area. If we are ready, technical team, if we are ready, let's look at that one. Okay, yes, outside of Warri Southwest. Now, let's screw up. Let's screw up. Okay, we're there. Now, as you can see, number 1 on our list here, we have Registration Area 12, and we have Ogbijo Ward. Now, from what I captioned there, we have word names alien to the area, mostly Ishekiri area in Warri Urban, so the Ishekiri, Warri South local government, and of course, Burutu local government. These were the names of the community used in forming this particular Ogbijo ward that we created. Now let's look at, for example, number 1 on the list there. They call it Oturubiri, and we have latitude 5.508 171822. Let's take the longitude if you're there. And the longitude is 5.74 91,79907. So let's look that up and see what comes out of it. So this is Warri, and this is Lily Hospital Limited. But they gave us this coordinate under Ogbijo in Warri Southwest. I don't know if you're following. So how do we move from Warri Southwest into Warri South? So they are picking coordinate that is not corresponding even with the particular word that they are creating. So you can see that the fraud is deliberate. To a large extent, I'm beginning to wonder if INEC did any groundwork, because they told us they went to ground with stakeholders, they visited the villages, and But in reality, if now looking at this revelation, can you agree that INEC visited any community? To me, to the best of my knowledge, it appears that this was cooked up and delivered to INEC. And that is the reason why EFCC must look into the workings of Professor Gumi. Professor Gumi, who was the one who headed the committee that carried out this job. She must be persecuted one way or the other. She cannot be allowed to go scot-free. Because if we allow this to continue, you can imagine the numbers of persons who want to go into crime because they know it's as business as usual. You can't commit this kind of crime and create unrest in Warri Federal Constituency and you live in peace in your domain. Because we know she's from Bayelsa. She's an injured woman. So she has done a very dirty job. She's now living at peace abroad while we are here grappling with this fraud that she has created. Now let's go back again to the coordinates. Are we there? Okay, let's scroll down. This is under Ogbijo, right? Let's go now to come down a little. We have registration area 4. Registration area 4. Let's take registration area 4 if we're there. I saw registration area 4. Yes, good. Now another thing I want to bring out here, as you can see on your screen, these were the names INEC gave to us. We have labeled them fictitious community because they are actually fictitious community. And these ones were the ones we find out once we plot this coordinate. So we're going to plot any one of them. Let's plot number 2, for example. Or plot number 1. Let's plot number 1. 5.50 22021. And the longitude is 5.55 0068. So let's go to the Google Earth map. quickly now. 5.550068. Are we good? Let's load that up. Where's that coordinate taking us to? Ubanabebe. Now, Ubanabebe is, zoom out, let's see, this is in Refugee Camp, if you know this area very well. Refugee Camp is in Warri South. And this place, as you can see, is opposite the Ebokodo River. And that is where INEC is creating a unit for Warri Southwest. You see the mix up there. We showed you the one they created for Ogbijo. We just took one example. There are others there. That particular coordinate fell inside Warri Urban. That is Warri South, not Warri Southwest. So let's go back to the coordinate. So we'll just take one or two and we move on. One or two and we move on. So let's quickly rush down to registration area 14. Because of time, let's go to registration area 14. Registration area 5. Go down, go down. Okay, wait. Go up, go. We need to get to 14. Registration area 14. I want to reveal some other communities there. Technical team, are we together? Okay, just a little pause. Let me bring out another revelation here. Now, this is, don't go up, please. Come down, come down. Take a pause. Now, go down a little. A little. Just one. Are we good? All right, all right. Now, registration area 3. They call it Beni Krukru, Kenya Beni. And what we find out, as you can see, are Urejusisin Creek. Urejusisin is in Warri North. And they are all the Shekri communities. So let's plot one of them. Let's say we're plotting number 2 for registration area 3. This was created for just under Warri Southwest. But when we plot the coordinates, the actual name of the community that came out were all from Warri North. So let's take 5.77, 84964, and the longitude is 5.28, 45689. So what do we have there? Harrison Point. Harrison Point, zoom out, zoom out. Yes. This is the creek that came from Urejusisin to Harrison Point. All these places are all Urejusisin. This is Bateren. This is Oloben. Now, this Bateren area only are the ones that pertain to Warri Southwest. But these areas, Urejusisin, they are all what? Warri North. But yet, INEC imported them from Warri North into Warri Southwest. So let's go back to the coordinates again. Good. Now, these are some of the examples we have on your screen. The one for the Ogbijo registration area 12, the one for Kenyagbene or Benikruku, whatever name they are giving to it. You can see Delhi Creek, Urejusisin, Delhi Creek. These are just the numbers of coordinates created or community created from that particular one. So let's move away from this one and let's go to wards. Wards or community formed from forest and creek. We now want to show you more of the ones formed from forest and creek. We saw some earlier on, but we're just going to show you a number of them. So many of them. Yes. Let's scroll up. Are we good? Now, good. So under Warri Southwest, these are the numbers of rivers, creek, forests that we uncovered, that were used in creating communities for the Ijaw to make up the world that would outnumber the Shekri. Now, let's take, for example, under registration area 2, they call it Azama, Igoba, and they even had Nikoroga in those states. They brought it to Warri Southwest. So let's go to, say, number 9, for example, and let's plot for number 9. This Baramatu, Swamp Mud, Bene, Baramatu, all these are the fictitious names that they are giving to this particular coordinate. But let's go to number 9, 5.518, 2744, that's for the latitude, and the longitude is 5.32, 56789. Let's plot that and see for ourselves. Okay. This one is saying what? Ogoba, which is entirely different from what INEC gave to us. As you can observe, different entirely from what INEC gave to us. So how come we are creating units or communities that are not known from anywhere? We just give it a different name. Manufacture name and give it and say that is it. And what we were after is the fact that it is in the middle of the forest, close to the river bank. There's no structure, no inhabitant. Thank you, technical team, for that zone. So it makes the job easy when you see for yourself what INEC has done. It's not like you are manufacturing things or telling stories. We're not telling stories. We're showing you what INEC did. So let's move further now. Let's go back to the coordinate and see how many more we can plot before we go to another area. Words formed from forest and creek. That's where we're going to. Yes, that's it. That's it. So scroll down again. We'll take one each and just forge ahead like that. So let's take, for example, one of these. And this is registration area 1. Go up. Let's see the registration area up. Yes. Registration area 3. Okay. I think we've done something in this area before, so let's not waste time. Go up again. Go up. We've done something from registration area 3, registration area 4. Okay. Let's take one from registration area 4. I was looking for this particular word before now. So let's take 5.50, 31501. If we're good, let's go. Okay. Okay, there's a shortage of numbers there. Okay, let's go for number 3. Let's go for number 3. That's some error there. 5.48, 193. 5.58, 77802. Now, this is Norman Creek. Now, Norman Creek is very close to Odishekiri or Inori Fishing Camp. These areas are Odishekiri. This is Odishekiri right here. So, the Bibio Camp, all of these areas are Odishekiri area. You know, covering up to Ubanabebe and of course Bodede. These areas close to the river bank, that's the Bodede area. And all these areas, Rubu Camp, and of course Norman Creek, they all covers Big Warri. So you can see clearly that these guys are just creating communities fictitiously without, you know, recourse, whether anybody will do any form of verification to find out whether these things are actually true the way that they are. So if we've done a lot from that word created from forest, let's not bore you with so many of them. Let's go to another one, word form with coordinate from another local government. I think that should be the last one. Are we there? Word form from, let's have your posture here, please. And read what comes out of it from Ishekiri communities. I think we've done that. Word formed from where? We're looking for outside of Warri federal constituency. Is that it? Yes, that's it. So open that particular document. Good. Now, this is another interesting part of our exposition that a lot of us have been looking forward to see. Now, under Warri Southwest, we have registration area 4, and they call it Diebiri. And I said that this word name is alien to the area, which are mostly the Shekiri area. But we now found out that there are some other coordinates that are not just around the Big Warri area where they formed this word from. There are some that are even in Udu local government. But let's find out. They call it Bekeama community. They call the second one Diebiri town. Let's take Bekeama community. 5.488. Zero 43011, 5.76 53 84138. Let's see what comes out of that. You see clearly this is Alaja. How can Alaja be in Warri Southwest? It means that INEC has adjusted Warri Southwest boundary into Alaja. So Warri Southwest is now bigger and larger, including Alaja. So you can see the trick that INEC is playing on us. But let's go back again to the coordinate. Let's go to registration, under that same registration area there, and let's look for, let's go to the coordinates. No, from outside Warri Federal Constituency. Yes, we're there. Now, these are the ones we found from Alaja. Let's go down to Brutu. We have some in Brutu here. Just scroll down. All these are Brutu. Scroll down. I want to go to registration area 14. Registration area 14. Go down. We'll come back to all these other ones, Kalagu Camp. 14, good, thank you. Now, under this registration area 14, this was created for the jobs in Warri Southwest. And what we uncovered is the fact that these original names were omitted or deliberately sidelined for these fictitious names. And eventually when we plot them, we find out that they are not even in Warri Southwest. These ones carrying Brutu, they are in the forest, Focados River, but in Brutu. We also have Ugelisa. Let's check for this particular one. They call it Okoyo Toru 1, Okoyo Toru 2, and that's number 35. We have 5.4102 78901, and the longitude is 5.78 737716. Let's see what comes out of that. You can see what we have. Let's look at the name again. Okay, we can even see the name on at the top there. Akperengen Town Hall. And this is Otwama. So what is Otwama doing in Warri Southwest? Now you can see for yourself. But let's move further to 36 on the list. Let's go back to the coordinate. Let's take coordinates at number 36. Number 36 is 5.410 193236, and the longitude is 5.79123973. Let's load that up. The same area. No, what they did now is to duplicate the same coordinates, even though not in Warri Southwest. But they have to duplicate it so that they can have more units and more community to make up the word. That's the essence, the same area. But let's go to, on that same list, let's go to 44. We have 44 there. 44, they called it Akpata Adabrasa. This was what INEC gave to us, this fictitious column. But let's plot that and see what comes out of it. 5.455 568. 5.455 568. And the longitude is 5.82 5358. Ubisi. Now see, just zoom into it and see. This area, as we can already tell, we have a Guinea Primary School very close by. We have Ujewu Primary School. All these are Ujewu area. And they brought it into Warri Southwest to create community and form the large ward that they claim to have. And this is how they tell you that they have a lot of communities. They have a lot of population. In fact, their population has grown in leaps and bounds. So they are more than the Shekiris. But when you go into the details, all these areas are in Ughelli South. So they created from Ughelli South and Udu, all to make them have the numbers where they don't even have the number. But let's also go to another one. Let's try 56. Let's try 56 if we have time to do so. Go down. 56, yes, let's try 56. They call this one Headmaster Benen. Even Headmaster has got community. You know, Headmaster Benen. But let's go to the coordinates there. Latitude 5.367, 286959. And the longitude is 5.6922497772. So let's load that up and see what comes out of that. If you're at home, I believe you followed me, you also plotting this with me, so you can also get to do this yourself. It's a practical session and I want you to follow suit. What do we have there? What we have there is what? Obotebe. And over here we have what? Bekebo. Over here we have Oviribala. All these are in what? Warri South. Ughelli South. Ughelli South being imported into Warri Southwest to create community. And for example, even when you look at the particular location, there is no structure. In fact, majority of the coordinates lack the needed structure to make up a community, let alone talk about population. Because you can't have population where there's no structure. Now let's move away from that. I think we've covered these numbers of units of communities created outside of Warri Southwest. Before we call it a wrap on today's session, let's go to Restoration Area 12. Let's look at that Ogbijo Urban again. We did something with that, but let's take them again and do some area there, because I'm also very interested how they jump from Ogbijo into the Warri Urban. Let's take number 1, 2, 3 there, if we can. Restoration Area 12. That's 14. Restoration Area 12. Go to word form from Ishekri communities. That's where you should get that. Come down there, what's formed from Shekri communities. Yes, that's it. So look for Restoration Area 12. Please double click the screen so that we can remove the header. No, out here, please. Okay, good. Just screw up. Okay, take it down gradually now. Let's have Restoration Area 12 if you can. We've gotten there before when we saw Ogbijo. Yes, good. Go up a little down. Okay, good. So let's take 1, 2, 3. Let's take 1, 2, 3. Now 5.50, 81, 71, 822. Then the longitude is 5.74, 91, 79907. So let's load that up on the map and see what comes out of it. Now, if anyone is familiar with Warri, this is the Sawdust Island, opposite the Pesu area. And this is what the Ijaws, in collaboration with INEC, is now given a different name and create as a community. Can you imagine? Can you believe that? This is Warri. But they are creating it under Ogbijo in Warri Southwest, so that you understand these dynamics here. This word created when we got these coordinates is in Warri Southwest under Ogbijo word. Ogbijo is not in Warri South. Ogbijo is in Warri South. That's the de facto headquarters of Warri Southwest, even though it's supposed to be Ogidigbe, right? But this is what we are getting inside Warri. Now go to the coordinate again. Now we have seen the clear picture before. Let's see the name that INEC is calling that place. INEC called it Oturubiri. If anyone lives in Warri, we will attest to the fact that there's nothing like Oturubiri in Warri City. So let's go to number 2. For number 2, we have it at latitude 5.12665118, and the longitude is 5.744293258. So let's plot that together. Or we go again. The longitude is 5.744293258. Are we good? Now let's load that up if we're good and see what comes out of it. Technical team, let's go on. So if we can't get that, we can move to the next one. If we can't get that, we can move to the next coordinates. Okay, let's do the coordinates again. Maybe they didn't get it. 5.512665118. And the longitude is 5.744293258. So let's see what comes out of that. Okay, it appears we have some technical glitch there. We'll be right back shortly. Let's take a pause and allow the technical team to connect back to the screen because we need to show you this fraud committed by INEC. It is very, very important you get to see how this fraud was committed. A lot of persons were saying that, oh, it's because they gave the Shetiri fewer words, that's why they are crying. No, that's not it. You know, we are actually exposing the fraud committed by INEC. It is not possible for the Shetiris who are majority to become a minority in their own word. They can't automatically, you know, transpose into a minority. And of course, when creating word, like you all know, there must be some guidelines to follow. INEC is supposed to apply its own guidelines, you know, in getting the kind of unit of community that make up the word. Now let's go again if we can. That's for number 2 under. Okay, let's see what comes out of that. This is same Warri. We are still in Warri, but yet this is created for what? Ogbujo in Warri Southwest. This is what we're trying to approve. Now, if we zoom close with this area now, this area should be close to the central hospital area, if I'm not mistaken, right? Are we good? So if you know Warri properly, you can tell that these areas have nothing to do with Ogbujo in Warri Southwest. So let's go over again to number 3 without wasting much time. Let's take that quickly. Go back to the coordinates. Number 3, we have it, they call it Boluama. Now Boluama has become a popular name recently because this is the fictitious name that they are using to annex land or community in Warri that is not in existence. But let's find out where the coordinate of Boluama is, you know, pinning up to. Now let's say 5.515163382. The longitude is 5.434113269. Let's plot that up. I hope you got that coordinate right. Look at it again. Boluama 5.5151633382, and the longitude is 5.734113269. Okay, good. Good. Now, zoom, yes, better. This is the central hospital area. And this particular water side is the area where you have a smooth road. And this is, of course, the river, the Warri River, demarcating this particular island from the other where you have the NPA. But yet, this is the name that they are giving it, Boluama. This is in Warri Urban, not even in Warri Southwest. But they are using this particular location coordinate to create a community under Warri Southwest. So these are the numbers of fraud we are here to reveal to the world. There are a huge number of them that we cannot, reveal altogether because of time. But from what we have done, we just did a summary, putting them into different categories so that you can better understand, what is going on in your domain. You must also understand that in Warri South, for example, the local government has got a law that prohibits renaming of any place or location in Warri South. I would expect that the local government chairman of Warri South, Honorable Abbas will take this up so that these renaming that we are seeing surfacing in Warri South will be corrected. We are also using this medium to call on the Inspector General of Police to institute actions against Rhoda for this monumental fraud that has been committed against the people of Warri Federal Constituency, or to shortchange the Shekiri people. Another thing to note when creating ward, INEC cannot create any unit or ward without following its own guideline. Part of the guideline includes the fact that a certain ward must contain, above the required numbers of units before you split them. You can't split a unit because you just feel like splitting them, because we discovered too that there are some wards that are having just 9 units or 9 communities forming that ward. Another thing to note is the fact that the population of any area cannot be determined by INEC. The institution of government saddled with the responsibility of determining that is the National Population Commission that carries out census at every particular point in time as government may deem fit. And once that happens, they will determine the population of the area. That's one. Now, the voting population is different from the total population of any area. The voting population is talking about individuals of voting age 18 and above who has been registered or captured by INEC in a voter register. And it is only when they have been captured that they make up the voter register or voting population of that area. So you'll be asking the question, where is INEC getting the numbers with which it is creating these multiple wards? Already we have revealed the secret of how INEC did this monumental fraud called ward delineation for Warri Federal Constituency. But you must also understand that there are legal implications to many of these. For example, you go to Warri Southwest, everything pertaining to land ownership in Warri South and in Warri Southwest has been concluded legally. These legal cases pertaining to land ownership is not new, and there is no case in court that is still contesting who owns Warri when it has been determined at the end of the day. So once that has been established, INEC cannot choose which court judgment to obey. INEC has obeyed the Supreme Court judgment to delineate. Now, INEC, in carrying out its delineation, must also obey the Supreme Court judgment on land ownership in all of these areas covering Warri Federal Constituency. And like I said, that the issue, the Shekiris are not contesting the implementation of Supreme Court judgment. The Shekiris are not against INEC delineating, but the Shekiris are saying even the delineation job carried out by INEC is shredded in a lot of fraud and malpractices. And of course, those responsible, headed by Professor Gumu, must be prosecuted and arrested. If nothing is done and this thing is left this way, it's a call for anarchy. It's a call for destruction. And we don't want that to happen. So we are calling on the federal government, the state government, all relevant agencies, the National Boundary Commission, National Population Commission, the NSA, the EFCC, because we have every reason to believe that this job cannot be done with an empty purse. Somebody has been induced. Somebody has taken money. In those days in school, they say you have collected shukuli. So some shukuli has exchanged hands. And those involved in this shukuli must be arrested, and that's where EFCC come in. We need to even verify the value of their bank account before they embark on this job, and the status of their bank account immediately they finalize this job. So those responsible, the EFCC should go after them. We also want the fact that all state government involved. For example, in the case of Edo State government should be interested in this because some of their communities are already being annexed and brought into Warri North. Ondo State as well should be interested in this because some of their communities are now being imported into Warri North to create ward for the just. You go to, for example, the one we saw in Ughelli South, and of course the Udu area. Those, robos over there can also look at this and discover what is ongoing in their backyard. Delta State government should be interested in this. The oil firms operating in Warri Federal Constituency should be interested in this. The NUPRC, the Upstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority, all of them should take this very seriously, because there is no way we will allow illegality to continue to thrive even when we have uncovered this. And don't forget that this information, as you can tell here, and every other explanation, petition alongside have been submitted to relevant agencies, institutions of government, over 30 of them. So we expect that they will follow this up and do the needful. Thank you very much, Nigerians. Thank you, Delta State citizens. Thank you, Wafarians, for joining this broadcast. And of course, we are glad that you could join us do this. God bless you all. God bless Nigerians. Okay, before I call it a wrap finally, thank you very much. We have a leader here who's going to join us and do a little bit of joiner on this one, on the court cases pertaining to many of these land in Warri Southwest. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I want to thank our brother, Mr. Bryce, who has done a very wonderful job. I hope the whole world today now knows that this is a fraud that has been done against the Shekiris in Warri Federal Constituency. The Shekiris is known all over the world as peace-loving people. We have always been known to obey court judgments from time immemorial. Anywhere you meet and a Shekiri man goes, it lifts you. If he wins you, he believes you should also obey the court judgment. When this issue of INEC came up, when they said INEC has done Delineation, the Shekiri nation did not go to war. You never saw the Shekiri people blowing up pipelines. You didn't hear issue of Avengers. All we want is for the world to see the monumental fraud that has been done by INEC. And my brother, I believe, has done justice to it. The world today has now seen the fraud in Warri Southwest that has never been seen before. INEC is carrying out what is called the obedience of this proposed word delineation. INEC told the world it's carrying out the implementation in obedience of the Supreme Court judgment as regards the retaliation of the world. However, in Warri Southwest, INEC created the word and called it Okerekoko. And that's a great aberration, because the whole world knows that there is nothing like Okerekoko known to law. There is a Supreme Court judgment already, which is the W2949. The Supreme Court judgment W2949, where it has been affirmed that the issue of the ownership of that entire area is known to the court of law, known aboriginally, known to Nigerian government, even down to Delta State, as Okerekoko, not Okerekoko. But while carrying out this delineation, we proposed the name illegally. Also, the issue of the other word they created for Bakokodia. If you check these things, you will see it's called Bakokodia. Bakokodia in the aboriginal names. But fictitious names, you see Christmas Bene, you see different names. INEC is just giving names in the name of Bene, according to the dictates of what we don't know, if there is dollarization or not. But when you see Bakokodia here, you see Bekenawe, you see Fifia Zion, you see Osunde community, you see Gunfubu community. But if you check with the government, like my brother has been doing, you will confirm with this coordinate that it is Bakokodia. Bakokodia is the name, and there is a court judgment, surprisingly, a Supreme Court judgment that has settled the ownership of this judgment for over 30-40 years. Same thing for Okenego. Same thing for the area of Egwazis. So I don't really know where they call it their political kingdom that was formed according to Benekema in 66th century before Jesus came. However, it is known to law as a kingdom formed just less than 1999. 1999 should be around 2006. And yet, they were creating what's there, even when there is a Supreme Court, there's a judgment as regards the ownership of the entire Egwa Axis. Egwa is an Omadino land. Katu is is an affront from the Omadino land. And Omadino has a boundary in the Egwa axis with cattle. However, you will check here and you find that instead of Egwa, instead of Ubefa, you see Gowon Bene, you see Pondi Bene, you see Omamba of Bene, you see Kongala Bene. In the land that is already known as an aboriginal name, since the creation, before the creation of Nigeria, as Abiteye, in this thing. But when you check, you see Ubefa here. You check here, you see Ubefa, Warri Kingdom, Madnola. All you see Baramate Ekpema. They are trying to want to rewrite history. And INEC is trying to create a problem against the Shekria people by doing what? Trying to institutionalize an illegality with Baramatu Saroe Bene, with Baramati Itaye Bene, with different Bene. You see this one, Daiwa Ema, primary school. Imagine Baramatu Subozo Bene, all from what? Ubefa land. Here you are seeing the area where you call Abiteye. Please take it a little more. If you see Abiteye here, where we have a Lagos Creek, if you see Abiteye here, all the land of Abiteye was created as what? And was created as what? Keagbene. Keagbene was recently a name that just came up as what? As of 2021. You see the area of Abiteye. Abiteye is in Dele. It was created here as Keagbene. These are all aberrations that we carried out. All we are asking for is INEC obey all Supreme Court judgments. I will be happy. I will believe that with this nation we have peace. There will be no burning, there will be no destruction, because Shekiri nation are known to be peaceful. Obey all court judgments. God bless you. Thank you very much.